Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining in this session. So wonderful having you all here. This is Pranav, Regional Product Manager from Team Vembu, and along with me, I have Mr. Mani, who is also a Regional Product Manager from a Vembu team as well. We are going to have a complete session about the latest release of version 7 onward. So that is what you could see deep over here. So I still see a lot of attendees joining in, but without much further ado, we'll just jump into the webinar. So once again, I thank everyone for joining in, and this is a live webinar of conducted by Team Vembu on the BDRSuite version 7.1.0, which was released a week before, and this 7.1.0 is completely on a further extension of data protection with a strategic plan of recovery. So this is what we're going to deal with, because this 7.1.0 was more of a masterpiece, because we were expecting something to bring it big and completely make into a single channel window. So as you all know, BDRSuite is more towards centralized management portal. So that is what more of centralization and new features that we have brought in based on the market trends. So I hope you will be seeing all those in the upcoming slides, and I'll be able to explain with much of a detail. But before we jump into the session, I would like to give you some of the ground rules about the webinar. To be starting with, all the attendees will be in the listen only mode, and you have the Q&A box nearby where you can drop in your questions if you have any. So I do have Mani on the other side who will be answering most of the questions. And if we are not able to answer, we'll mail you the answers for the questions that you have said or asked in this Q&A. And post the call, you'll be redirected to our website where you can read through what are the details about or the release document about the new features and enhancements that we have added. Most of it we'll be discussing it in this session. So the session is more for 1 hour gap, but I'll try to finish it up before that, where I'll be explaining you about the new features that we have brought in and more about the enhancements that might be made into the product. So and also I would be showing you a live demo where I'll just showing with covering up the overview of the new additions to the BDRSuite. So yeah, and the recording of this webinar will be available in another 48 hours from the end of the webinar session. So yeah, we'll just start on with the session now, people. Let's brace yourself. Yeah. So the BDRSuite version 7.1.0, the most awaited things that the Vembu team was holding in, with a lot of new features that we are expecting. So before I start on with the exact webinar heading, I need to give up a basic introduction, because I see a lot of new attendees who is new to this product have joined in. So based on that hierarchy, giving an importance to the new attendees, I'm just going to give you an introduction about Vembu and its product offerings. So people who are new, this Vembu is a backup and a disaster recovery software vendor in this market. So we try to offer one of the best cost-effective backup software for MSPs and SMBs, with an option to backup any workloads, store it on any targets, and you can manage that time centrally anytime. So being in this business, Vembu has more than 2 decades of experience with more than 4,000 plus partners and having our footsteps in 100 plus countries. So we have been rated as one of the topmost leaders for the winter, and consecutively we have been winning these batches, which you could see it at the bottom of the presentation. So this is something based on the reviews that has been offered by G2 Crowd, Trust Radius, and you have the Captera as well, and PaySpot. So the batches have been provided to us based on their performance and the support that we have been offering. And these are some of the global brands that who trust on us or been using our product till date from us. And I just want to talk about the offerings that has been made by Vembu. One is the two product portfolios. We have the BDRSuite on the one hand, and another hand, we have the BDR Cloud. BDRSuite is more like a self-hosted backup software. So you just need to install that software on a dedicated server machine where you'll be able to take a backup of any workloads and then recover the same. So this BDRSuite is completely a self-hosted one where you have to deploy your own resources. That could either be a server or the storage part. Okay, but on the other hand, BDR Cloud is more like an cloud-hosted server of the BDRSuite. So we have hosted a cloud server on our data center from where you can try taking a backup of your entities and store it in either our cloud or your own cloud. And also, we are also bringing up a new, concept of storing the data locally for the BDR Cloud also. So we are already working on it, and we hope to release that in a couple of months from now for the BDR Cloud using local storage as a storage repository. That is also an option. Now, this is what the BDRSuite and BDR Cloud is all about. These are the offerings of Vembu. The BDRSuite is on-prem solution, and the BDR Cloud is a cloud solution. Now, what I can take a backup is what listed here. So I can take a backup of my virtual, my physical servers, endpoints, the file share, SaaS applications, cloud workloads, and databases. So these are the things that I can take a backup using the BDRSuite solution. Now, where do I store the data? So the data, whatever I take a backup, can be stored in your own remote or local storages, such as directly attached storage or any of your network drives as NAS or SAN, or you can even archive the data on tape. But what we support is the disk to tape model. So you initially store the data in a primary disk level, and then have that copy stored in the tape for archival purpose. So that's for the local storages. And next you have the cloud storages. Here you can use your own public cloud where we support Amazon S3 or any of its S3 compatible storages such as Minayo, Wasabi, Blackblaze, etc., etc. And you have the support for Azure Blob and Google Cloud to get your data stored in your own cloud bucket. On the other hand, we also provide our cloud storages where we have the BDR Cloud storage on S3 as well as Wasabi. So based on your, the cost, you can choose your BDR Cloud option. Now, so all the new comers, I believe, this is what about the BDRSuite that I've explained. So the Vembu's offering as BDRSuite and BDR Cloud, and what are the modules that you can take a backup. We're using the BDRSuite, and then you have the storage options shown on screen. Now, let's dive directly into the subject. So to all the people out there, what's new in this version of BDRSuite, version 7.1, which has been an awaited version for long. Now, people might be aware of this recent change of VMware to another hand. So people, the market setters are trying to analyze the trends. They started to understand if VMware goes off, like the cost of things goes higher for VMware, there are people who will be looking for another hypervisor solution. BDRSuite already supports the backup for Hyper-V and KVM. Now, to that addition, we have brought in the virtual machine, agentless virtual machine backup for Proxmox as well as oVirt. So these are the two hypervisors that we support in our latest release of version 7.10 based on the market trend. So, and another one is, since we have some new products here, we also have a new enhancements that has been made as a new feature. That is the remote backup for the virtual machines of VMware and Hyper-V. So anywhere, so previously we were trying to install an client and then take a backup of that data, I mean the virtual machine data, and send it to the backup server. But for that we would be requiring the VPN, tunneling and all those purposes. But now, to cut short on all those, we brought about something called as a remote backup proxy. So all that you need to do is download this agent, install this agent on the any of the machine on as a VM, or it could be a physical machine on your client site. Take a backup of the virtual machines of VMware or Hyper-V using that proxy, and the proxy will connect to the backup server and send all your data to the backup server. Okay, so this is for the remote backup for your distributed environment or the virtual infrastructure, which is distributed geographically. You can use this solution. And to be specific, your data travels, or the virtual machine data which you have taken a backup will be traveling over a WAN, which is possible now. So you don't need to spend much on VPN. It's directly over the WAN. You can take your back. Now, on the other hand, since this is more towards a virtual environment, there's something that we have brought in again as an enhancement. That is the backup of your chat and conversation in the Microsoft Teams. Most of you know that BDRSuite supports backup for SaaS application that includes the Microsoft 365. Initially, we supported the mailbox backup, and then we have the SharePoint and Teams backup. In Teams, we just were taking a backup of the files and folders, but now you can take the backup of your chat as well as the conversations that you had previously. So all that is being brought together for the Teams backup along with chat and conversation. One-on-one chat can also be taken a backup along with the group chat. So this is what your version 7.10 new feature holds. Now, there are some enhancements again, which you could see on screen. These enhancements is something which we had previously on a minor note, but it is again a new feature as well as an enhancement. That is how it has been designed. So as you could see, we have had a bare-metal recovery process previously. Now we have simplified it. We brought in a live streaming method, which requires no hard disk or any other storages to be attached to pull up the data. So that data pull up can be done directly using a network solution. That is what the bare-metal restore, which has been simplified, shows up for this enhancement in version 7.10. And another one is related to the Microsoft 365 and Google Workspace. Now object-based segregation has been enabled. So previously it was all clumps in. So when you select a mailbox, it includes all things and it will be taken a backup. Now it is all object-based. For that organization, you can select what object that you wanted to take a backup, either mailbox or just a group mailbox or an archive mailbox, or it could be only a Teams or SharePoint, whatever it is, based on your requirement, you can choose among and take a backup. Then you have the folder exclusion in Microsoft 365 mailbox. So you can exclude any particular folder while you're configuring a backup from your Microsoft 365 mailbox. That is mostly towards OneDrive and so. And the next is again a filtration option that we have. So you can filter based on your file type, folder name, etc. for all your SaaS application backup. That could be your Microsoft 365 or the Google Workspace. So you can filter based on your requirement. That is what this holds for you on the enhancement side. On the other hand, we also have some exclusion for specific entries from the backup job in your SaaS application backup. That is your Microsoft 365 and Google Workspace. The important thing is branding. My dear fellow MSPs and resellers out there, now you have the branding option. You can add your own brand and you can sell it up to your customers or set it up for your customers. So that's new branding option that we have brought in. We also brought in multi-tenancy, and this is again in BDR Cloud. So when the BDR Suite went into a release, before a week of BDR Suite release, we had the BDR Cloud release with version 7.1.0. The branding option is also there in BDR Cloud, as well as you have this multi-tenancy feature available for the BDR Cloud as well. And next, as an addition to the endpoints backup, your endpoint name will be your host name, and no more IP addresses will be represented in any of the reports or the listing pages that shows your endpoint. So it will be identified only with the host name or the endpoint name, not your IP address anymore. So this is what your BDR Suite version 7.1.0 enhancement has. Apart from this, we have done a lot of bug fixes, and the stability has been increased when compared to previous versions. Now, before there's a 30 days of free trial that you can start to workload on. But before that, I just wanted to show you a small demo about the new BDR Suite version 7.1.0. Okay, so this is a BDR Suite solution. As you could see, this is a new logon screen that we have shown up. And, this BDR Suite has multiple, as you could see, the side things show up with the details. But there are some more details that I wanted to show to you. This BDR Suite, before you log in, just need to install it on a dedicated machine. Even for evaluation purposes, you can use your endpoints of Windows and Windows 10 and Windows 11 can be used. This BDR Suite also comes up for the Windows, Linux, and you also have the Docker build for it. For Linux, we support only Ubuntu, which supports from 18.04 LTS and above that we support to install this BDR Suite software. As I told you, this is a comprehensive solution. So once you install this, a web-based console, so all that you need to do is use your local IP address of the machine where you have installed the BDR Suite software, and just put a colon with 6060 port number. You'll be able to see this login screen. And on the the username and password by default is admin and admin, which can be changed while you are installing the software. So it can be customized based on your requirement. And yeah, so people, what you see here is the new version 7.1.0 site. Okay, so this is a software 7.1.0 which has been installed here. And I would like to show you the grouping now. So it is not like what you had before. There's something new that we have done it. So there are some of the 3 tabs which were, recently taken out of the cluster. So one is the infrastructure, where you have your option to add your storages. That could be your block storage or object storage. Block is all your local storages, such as directly attached storage, or your network drives as NAS or SAN. Whereas object storage is all your own cloud storages. That could be your AWS S3 or any of your S3 compatible storages such as Wasabi, MinIO, etc. You have the Azure Blob and Google Cloud as your storage repository under the object storage. And you also have this immutable feature for S3 and S3 compatible storages. And you have the cluster server, like if you want to deploy the backup server in a standalone mode or clustered mode, you can decide while installing the software. Now you have the 360 server that is more like, I would say, a centralized reporting tool which gets you all the detail about your backup servers when configured in a higher number. And you have the AD or LDAP server that you can include in. So this sector holds the infrastructure detail that needs to be included, or if required can be included. But apart from this backup repository, all others are the not that required. It's an optional option, whereas backup repository is the primary option that you have to follow. Next is the management. Under the management, you have the user management, your credential management, settings, where you can find all these SMTP, the web proxy, two-factor authentication for your BDRSuite login. You have the license check. You have the branding options. As I told you, this will be coming up later, but still, I'll just keep this noted. This is a new feature that came up. And the edition details. Next, you have the tenants. So you can create your tenancy, that is multi-tenancy, based on your requirements, so that the user that you have created, like the team, you can group your clients in one as a team or as a tenant, and that tenant is not able to see or view the backup jobs configured by another tenant. So that is how you can group your entities. Now, under this, you have not much of a change. It has gone through for hypervisors, servers, and endpoints, the cloud workloads, the SaaS applications, and applications in DBs. So as I told, this is a comprehensive solution. So you have all things listed here. Now, here you could see some of the changes. Now you are under the hypervisors, servers, and endpoints. You have the data sources. Then comes the backup. You have the protected entities section, recovery section, as always, and then you have something called as secondary copy. Under the secondary copy, we have grouped all your whatever the copies that you have apart from your primary copy is being grouped here, so that you can be your backup copy or an offsite DR, or for the tape archive you can use as ZTR. So this is what we have categorized it, and some of the menu options that we have changed, but not much with the functionality. Just the UI representation has been shown differently. Now, the hypervisors, servers, and endpoints. Now, there are two things that we need to check on these hypervisors for the version 7.1.0. That is the addition of new hypervisors, that is Proxmox VE as well as oVirt. So the addition of data sources is more of simple, both for Proxmox, oVirt, or any hypervisor for that matter. Just go click on Add Proxmox VE. You have two options: either go install the agent manually on a source machine and then connect your the BDS to the backup server, or you can just install the agent automatically if the Proxmox server or the IP address, Proxmox server or the hypervisor, just put the IP address of name. If they are located in the local network, you can just put their details, connect it, and you'll be able to push the agent directly from the backup server if it is in your local network. Otherwise, you can just download, install the agent, and connect it to the backup server. So that is one option for Proxmox. On the other hand, the oVirt also follows the same. Not only oVirt, any solution on that matter, or the hypervisor for that matter, can also be the same. Either go with a manual push, or you can push the agent automatically by filling up all the details that is required. Okay, so these are the two options of new hypervisors addition, and another one is the new another set of new addition that you wanted to see about is the proxy option for VMware and Microsoft Hyper-V VMs. So that is like if you have your hypervisors which is far away or distributed among regions, and you just have a backup server installed at your end, but you want those data of those virtual machines taken a backup over the WAN and getting it stored on your end where the backup server is installed. So for that, we brought in something called as proxy. All that you need to do is just download this remote proxy, like download it, install it on a machine at your client's end or the particular end. Once a agent is installed, this proxy reads up the data from the data source and then sends the data to the backup server. But the configuration of the backup is going to be the similar. So these are the two proxies that I've installed, one for Microsoft Hyper-V and another for VMware vSphere. So once I've added from the proxy, I'll be adding the data source. So here's a ESXi that I've added in my proxy. So since the proxy lists the data, it'll be listed here in the backup server as well. If I go to VMware, I'll be able to see this proxy, the ESXi host details. If it is Hyper-V, I'll be able to see the IP address and the details of the Hyper-V server, which I've added. So all these through a proxy you will be able to see, and the backup configuration for those machines can be done directly from this backup server itself. So though you have used a proxy, still you can configure the backup where you can select where you want to store the data to on the storage side, and then choose the option which it is managing. So if it is based on the host detail, you can just add up the detail, or this server is the backup server, which is locally. But if it is a proxy, just mention the proxy detail and then configure the backup. Okay. So that is the detail that you have. And this lists the the host that has been added. So this is what your backup proxy does for you. So now you don't have to spend or worry about installing a client at the client's end or your customer's end and taking a backup. Now it is all come with a proxy, which is invisible, and just take a backup and get it stored at the storage repository attached to your backup server. So this is what a remote proxy does. Now, the next option is about the Teams backup that we were discussing. So under the Teams, now I'm going to jump towards the SaaS applications section. Here, when I configure the details for Microsoft 365 by adding the sources, just go to backup, configure backup Microsoft 365. Now here is the segregation of details. Like I have the user mailbox backup, group mailbox backup, SharePoint sites, Teams, public folders specifically mentioned here. Initially, it was just one Microsoft 365. I have to list the organization and then I'll be selecting it from there. But now you don't have to worry about those details. Just directly select things from here. Now in Teams, as I said, we can now configure the backup for your chat conversations as well. So I'm just selecting the organization. Now include the chats. That is a prerequisite that you have. Just follow the prerequisites which has been mentioned, and obviously you can configure the Teams backup as well for your requirement. Okay, so that is what your Teams backup for Microsoft 365 holds for you. I have one of that sort as well. So the next option here is the filter options. So those filter options are enhancements that you could see, like whenever you configure a backup or when you try to restore a backup data of Microsoft 365 or the Google Workspace, just go select anything particular. While you select, going with the default timestamp that I have, I'm selecting one particular account. Now in this, if I want to include only the mails, I can include or filter the mails based on the requirement. All folders, or any particular folder in that conversation of my mail, like inbox, drafts, or deleted items, all those will be listed here. So you can just select one from here. If I want to, from email address, if you know about from, or if contains any or starts with or ends with, whatever it is, I can add it up. So, okay. So it's my option. Like, for example, if I have include, so list me all the mails that has the subject include or something of that sort. It can list you all with that detail. And then search, I can define a date range to search my mail. So if something is there, it'll just list that over here. Otherwise, you can clear the filter and edit the filter and change things up based on your requirement. So it is not only for filter, it is for the entire mailbox, your OneDrive as well. So here in OneDrive, you can select what was the last modified time, what the folder name, what does it contain. All these can be listed here in this, filtered here using this filter option. So that's a new addition to the SaaS applications while you try to restore. So you don't have to spend many of your time to scroll completely down and then restore any particular backup of Microsoft 365 or Google Workspace that you have done. Okay, so that's what your section over here holds up for you. On the other hand, now we'll just talk about the branding option that we discussed. But before that, I wanted to conclude about the recovery option, a newly added option for BMR process. So if I wanted to restore any of my Windows disk image level backup and perform a BMR restore option, I just need to go to the recovery section, recovery, restore backup data, and then I have this bare metal restore option over here. So I'm choosing this bare metal type while I have two options. One is the direct streaming, which I just told you. All that you need to do is just download this ISO file to a pen drive and then plug it into the new source machine, new bare metal. So once you plug in, you have the gentle follow-up steps where you need to press F12, use this USB drive to boot up the ISO, and you will have the menu of Vembu BDR over there. From there, you can select what you wanted to restore or any particular drive, or you wanted to restore the complete machine. You can choose there with the latest timestamp and which drive or disk you want to map it to. You can do it. So for this, all that you need to do is just set up a IP address or local network IP address. So from there, from the backup server, it will fetch all those required details or the file to get it booted, the VHDX file. So that is called a direct streaming. When I'm using a local network to stream my process, it is my direct streaming option. Whereas the older step, that is a manual step where you need to copy the ISO file, as well as you have an option to, uh, you know, uh, download or take the backed up data into a pen drive or a hard drive and then plug it up on your new bare metal and then continue with the process. That is a manual process. But now we just made it with direct streaming, simpler one. And we are again going to make it more simpler in the future upcoming releases. And that's a bare metal recovery, which has been brought up directly in the recovery section itself. And authorization for BMR, you can have this BMR authorization directly here. So anything particular to BMR, you can just get it done and you can recover your machine from the scratch. So that is what your BDRSuite holds for you. And then you have the management, mainly the branding. My dear service providers, or the partners out there, if previously we were not supporting branding on a large scale, we just went only with co-branding in detail. Now there is something which we brought it up only for you. So under the management, go to branding, where you can change your company name here, your product name, or like whatever is desired, you can just change it. You can even change this logo. So where all the logos represented, you will have that to be changed. You can change your favorite icon for your, the browser. You have the support and documentation. If you have your own website or support team, you can just provide those details here and save it. So what happens is your complete BDR suite is now your own solution. So you'll have the detail directly there. So whomsoever you're going to show this to, and I mean, like your clients or your customers, they'll be able to view this branding option as such. Okay. And one more enhancement that we have done apart from this branding is uh, previously the endpoints were all represented using the IP address. Now the endpoints will be represented in the reports only through this host name. Whatever their host name is, you will be using that to represent it. So as you could see, just go to dashboard, backup jobs, host, machine host or VM level. So in this, not your IP address will be listed. Instead, the name of the host will be listed with the original size and compressor. A lot of enhancements to the reporting section that we have done is also being listed here. Now there is a dashboard section as well. So that also lists only the host details and not the IP address. So you can move your, yeah. These are the host name, which we have mentioned it in such a format. Now you have this complete detail, which you can download it for, or 30 days detail with the history of it. So anytime you want, you can just change the size of the column, you can raise it or not. All that we can have that viewed here. So this is what you have. You can even change it to 7 days or however you want. Like you can filter it up. And these can be downloaded as well as you can send it as an email. And also you have the ConnectWise integration ticketing or enabled directly under the report section. You can add up the details there. And if you have any ConnectWise RMM tool, you can use that tool to list your details of the version 701. So people, this is what your 701 has for you for the backup section. That is for the new add-ons for Proxmox and oVirt, as well as the backup proxy, that is the BDR proxy. Now, since we spoke about the Proxmox and about the oVirt, we also have the restore options for them. Under the recovery section, or if you have configured a backup for Proxmox, so here you could see to restore a Proxmox VM, we have the following options. Either you can instantly boot that VM, or you can just perform a full VM recovery, or a disk mount option. Only if it is Windows, then you can perform a disk mount option. Then you have the download disk option. So any particular disk you want to download, you can download, or a file or folder level recovery. So all these are the options that you have for the VM that you have selected to use. So if I'm going to use this disk mount, it's an initial process immediately that it will list the disk to your backup server as an only through a disk management portal. And I can perform a full VM recovery or a file or folder level recovery. So anything of that sort, like either a complete machine or any particular file or folder from that machine can be restored. So that is what this Linux machine has for me. And if it is a Windows machine, I can have the folders, files and folders listed here. Since it is Linux, I have to instantly boot the data. And from there, I can fetch my files and folders. So which can also be done for disk mount option. Now, the other hand, for download disk, I can just download it into multiple virtual file format. So though it is SCSI, now I can download it as a VHD or VMDK, VHDX, flat VMDK, and draw file format. So these are the formats that I have for a Proxmox backup. Okay, so these are the restore options that is shown for a Proxmox backup. So I can even show you further. Yeah. And now that's for the Proxmox, and now you have the oVirt. So for oVirt, I've just configured a backup. Now again, when I try to restore the virtual machine that I've configured for oVirt, I can see that details here. I'll have the same recovery options because I don't have this, these features, these application features yet. It's only available for VMware, Hyper-V, and KVM, and not even completely for KVM, only some for KVM. But as of now, for Proxmox and oVirt, you'll be having these recovery options that you could see over here. As said, like this is a local check for a file of folder level recovery for my oVirt, which I have taken a backup. So this lists me with the detail. So whatever the volume that I've taken a backup, I can just list it down and see how many files and folders that I want to check it up and restore at a folder level or a file or folder level. Okay, all this done. I'll choose a destination. So this destination would be on the backup server, and soon to the source machine will also be available. So you can restore it directly to there, and you can ensure your business continuity at a minimum time period. So this is what your BDRSuite for Proxmox and oVirt has for you on the restore side. Okay, so the version 7.1.0 with the branding feature and much more new optimizations to your UI, you get to see the advanced level of stable build that you're seeing now. Okay, so you can just download, just log into the BDRSuite account. You just go to our website. You have the 30 days of free trial, which you can use for your purpose. Now, this is a site of my website. Just go to download BDRSuite. In this, you have the Windows installer, the Linux installer, and the Docker deployment as well. So all that are listed here, which you can use it for all-in-one installer. This is what yeah. So this is my website. Click on download BDRSuite. You have the Windows, Linux, and Docker deployment here. So this is what you can be using it for the BDRSuite to evaluate your BDRSuite version 7.1.0 that's brought to you. Now, I believe we are nearing to the end of the session. Now, I do see a lot of people have requested questions on that. But before I conclude my session, the version 7.1.0 is not complete without me showing you the BDR Cloud solution. Because before the BDRSuite release, we had the BDR Cloud a week before. So I just wanted to show you the BDR Cloud solution, which has a version 7.1.0 in it. So people as you could see, all that you need to do is just online backup.vembu.com and sign up for a new account. Once you sign up and register, you will get an email ID where you can confirm your email ID there and then log in with that user ID. I'm going to use mine to log in. This is the BDR Cloud is actually the cloud server of BDRSuite, which has been hosted in our cloud data center. So here you could see we have brought this branding option here. Now you can even brand your details for BDR Cloud as well. Next, you have the tenants option that we have included in BDR Cloud. Now the BDR Cloud initially was having only the servers backup and endpoints backup, both at image level and file folder level. Now, after the introduction of backup proxy, people can also configure backups for your VMware and Hyper-V and get your data stored in the BDR Cloud. BDR Cloud is yet to be added with KVM, Proxmox, and oVirt. It'll be added in the upcoming releases because BDR Cloud undergoes releases on every monthly basis. And then here again, rest of the things are all same. The configuration of the backup, the protected entities detail, the recovery site. So even in recovery, you can perform BMR from your cloud server. So whatever you taken a backup, you can just restore the data and perform a bare-metal restore using that two of the methods that has been provided. And even here, the report section will be bearing only the host name and not the IP address of the host. So these are the new enhancements that you could see even in this BDR Cloud account as such. Okay, so now I would proudly say that we have come to the end of the session, ladies and gentlemen. So I do see a lot of questions again popping up in our Q&A port. And yes, and I also see that Money has answered some, and there are some which we'll we'll get to answer if we are not able to conclude it. But I'll just give you 2 minutes to post your answers, post your questions here, so that we get it collected, and we'll just reply it in your email separately if it is not replied here. So the 2 minutes is all yours, people. You can post your questions. And I see there's a question here. Can I use BDR on premises and save the backup in BDR Cloud? Literally to be said, you can have your BDRSuite on premises and you can store your data in your own cloud storage. And the other way around is you can have a copy of that backup data. Like if you're storing the data on-prem, you can maybe you can have a offsite copy. We call that as BDR Cloud DR. So you can use that for having a copy of the data in BDR Cloud, not directly the primary copy to be stored in BDR Cloud. That you can choose your own storage. In that case, in BDR Suite, you can choose your own cloud storage. So that is what being represented. I believe Money has also answered those questions. Yeah. And yeah, there are a lot of questions that is flowing up, and I see my team has been answering all those so far. So, but on the shortage of time, people, before we leave the session, I just wanted to thank everyone for attending this session. What we have shown you is just an overview, people. You can have a one-on-one session with a product expert from our team. If you could just span us some minutes, you can just reach out to Vembu-sales@vembu.com. So we can arrange a head-on one session for you. You can have a complete understanding about the particular feature or whatever the feature that you feel is required for your environment or your customer's environment, or any of your backup plan that you wanted to hear. You can just let us know so that we'll be able to organize sessions for you and make sure that is very cleared at the initial phase itself. So thank you once again, people, for joining in this wonderful live webinar on BDRSuite version 7.10, where we just had an introductory with a presentation and then ended up with an overview demo for both BDRSuite as well as the BDR Cloud based on the changes which we had on version 7.10. So as I said, you can keep on posting your questions. My team will be answering it. And the recording of this webinar will be available in another 48 hours from now. You can find this recording in our website under the resources section. As you could see, like under the resources section, you have the recorded webinars. Under this, you can find it. And for details, you can always stay up tuned with our BDRSuite website, which has all the details for you. The resources holds the details, most of the details technically, and you also have the support. You can just click on the support to have a support session. Now, if you want any demo requests, you can just click it over here, fill up the details, and my team will assign personnel to give you a virtual demo. Okay. Otherwise, they'll send you the video recording links for you to understand about the particular feature that you are requested for. So this is all about a BDRSuite version 7.10, people. Thank you so much for being in this session once again. Yeah, at last, I have just a question. Can you show how to configure it, please? Yes, not in this session because this is more like a webinar. Like we can have a separate session, and that can be covered in a demo session, or we'll be sending you the video links that could help you in configuring backups. So stay tuned. And again, the video links are getting ready. We'll be trying to share that one by one, and you can request the details, or you can even sign up for a head-on-head demonstration with our team member. Okay. So whatever you have, any question, always make sure that you reach out to us either through Vembu-sales@vembu.com or Vembu-support@vembu.com. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. Have a nice day. And stay tuned with BDRSuite.